On my 35th birthday, I stood in our bedroom doorway holding the tiny velvet box my wife Emily had just handed me with the biggest smile I'd ever seen on her face. She was practically bouncing on her toes, whispering, "Open it, baby. This one is special." The box was heavy for its size, expensive looking. I popped it open, expecting the watch I'd been hinting at for months. Instead, nestled on black satin, was a solid gold men's signet ring. Beautiful, thick, classic. And right there, engraved in elegant script on the flat oval face, was a single letter, J. Not M for Mark. J. My stomach dropped so hard I thought the floor had disappeared. Emily was still grinning, waiting for my reaction, completely unaware that she had just detonated 10 years of marriage in one careless second. I said, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. "Why does this have a J on it?" Her smile flickered, just for a heartbeat. Then it came back brighter than before. "Oh, that's the jeweler's mark, silly. They all have little signatures now. Custom piece. Do you love it?"
Hier.
10 years together, 8 of them married, and she knew I hated monogram things that weren't my initial. She knew I thought signet rings looked pretentious on anyone who wasn't royalty. And she definitely knew my name didn't start with J. But I was so stunned I just closed the box, kissed her cheek, and mumbled, "It's gorgeous. Thank you." Because what else could I say with 20 of our closest friends waiting downstairs for the surprise party she'd planned? That was the moment everything cracked open, even though I didn't know it yet. That ring with his initials was the beginning of the end, or maybe the moment I finally saw the end coming straight at me. Let me take you back so you understand how I got here. I met Emily Harper 12 years ago at a mutual friend's Halloween party. I was dressed as a very unconvincing Indiana Jones. She was a 1940s pinup girl in red lipstick and victory rolls, laughing so hard at my terrible whip skills that she spilled her drink down my shirt. I didn't even care. That laugh, bright, unapologetic, a little husky, hooked me instantly. By midnight, we were sitting on the back porch sharing a cigarette. I didn't even smoke. I just wanted an excuse to stay close to her. She told me she was a graphic designer who dreamed of opening her own studio one day. I told her I was an electrical engineer who fixed other people's mistakes for a living. She said, "Perfect. I make pretty things. You make sure the lights stay on so people can see them." We kissed under cheap string lights while Thriller played inside, and I knew I was done for. We moved fast. 6 months later, she moved into my tiny apartment. A year after that, I proposed on the same porch where we'd met, down on one knee in the rain because the ring had arrived that morning and I couldn't wait another day. She cried, said yes, and we got married in her parents' backyard with fairy lights and wildflowers. Everyone said we were that couple, the one that made other people believe in love again. The first 5 years were golden. We bought a little fixer-upper in the suburbs. I got promoted to senior project manager. She launched Harper Creative and started pulling in big clients. We traveled Italy for our 3rd anniversary, Japan for our 5th. We talked about kids, decided to wait until her business was more stable. Life felt effortless. Even our fights were small and quickly fixed with long makeup sessions on the couch. Then came the slow drift. It started with late nights at the office for her. "Big campaign launch," she'd text. I'd heat up dinner and wait. Sometimes she'd come home smelling like someone else's cologne. But she always had an explanation. Client dinner, group hug photo, whatever. I believed her because I wanted to, because doubting her felt like doubting us, and us was everything to me. Around year 7, she hired a new art director named Jordan Caldwell. Tall, tattooed, rode a motorcycle, the kind of guy who looked like he belonged on an album cover. She talked about him constantly. "Jordan has the best eye for typography." Jordan stayed until 3 a.m. helping me finish the pitch. "Jordan says I'm a genius." I met him once at the company holiday party. He shook my hand a little too hard, smiled a little too wide, and called me bro. I hated him on sight, but Emily laughed it off. "He's harmless. Total flirt with everyone." I told myself I was being paranoid. I even invited the guy over for a barbecue to prove I wasn't threatened. He brought expensive tequila and spent the whole night standing too close to my wife while they talked about kerning and Pantone swatches. I drank too much and passed out on the patio. Woke up at 2 a.m. to find them still out there. Heads bent together over her laptop, laughing quietly. She kissed my forehead and said, "Go back to bed, babe. We're just finalizing tomorrow's presentation." I did, because I trusted her. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you. It started with late nights at the office for her. Big campaign launch, she'd text. I'd heat up dinner and wait. Sometimes she'd come home smelling like someone else's cologne. But she always had an explanation. Client dinner, group hug photo, whatever. I believed her because I wanted to, because doubting her felt like doubting us. And us was everything to me. Around year 7, she hired a new art director named Jordan Caldwell. Tall, tattooed, rode a motorcycle, the kind of guy who looked like he belonged on an album cover. She talked about him constantly. Jordan has the best eye for typography. Jordan stayed until 3 a.m. helping me finish the pitch. Jordan says I'm a genius. I met him once at the company holiday party. He shook my hand a little too hard, smiled a little too wide, and called me bro. I hated him on sight, but Emily laughed it off. He's harmless. Total flirt with everyone. I told myself I was being paranoid. I even invited the guy over for a barbecue to prove I wasn't threatened. He brought expensive tequila and spent the whole night standing too close to my wife while they talked about kerning and Pantone swatches. I drank too much and passed out on the patio. Woke up at 2 a.m. to find them still out there. Heads bent together over her laptop, laughing quietly. She kissed my forehead and said, "Go back to bed, babe. We're just finalizing tomorrow's presentation." I did, because I trusted her. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you. Last year, Emily's studio exploded. She landed a national campaign for a luxury watch brand. Suddenly we had money, real money. We paid off the house, bought her a white Range Rover, started talking about starting a family for real this time. She was glowing. Stressed, yes, but glowing. She'd come home exhausted and collapse into my arms, whispering, "You're my rock, Mark. I couldn't do any of this without you." I lived for those words. Then the work trips started. Weekend retreats in Miami. 4-day conferences in Vegas. 10 days in Lisbon for a branding summit. She'd FaceTime every night, blow kisses, show me the hotel room. I'd see Jordan in the background sometimes, waving. "Hey, bro." I'd wave back like an idiot. I started noticing little things. New lingerie I never saw her wear at home. A second phone charger that wasn't mine. The way she'd angle her laptop away from me when we watched Netflix. But every time I asked, she had a perfect answer. And every time I felt crazy for doubting her. Until 6 weeks before my birthday. I came home early from work because a site inspection got canceled. Her car was in the driveway, but the house was quiet. I called her name, no answer. Then I heard the shower running upstairs. I smiled, thinking I'd surprise her. I walked into our bedroom and froze. On the dresser sat a man's leather weekend bag. Black, expensive, with a little gold initial embroidered on the flap. J. I don't know how long I stood there staring at it. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. The shower shut off. Emily walked out in a towel, hair dripping, and saw me. Her face went white. "Mark, you're home early. Whose bag is that, Em?" She didn't even glance at it. "Jordan's. He crashed here last night after we pulled an all-nighter on the new pitch. Couch. Fully clothed. You know how deadlines are." I wanted to scream. Instead I just nodded, kissed her wet shoulder, and went to make coffee with shaking hands. That should have been the end. Any sane man would have opened that bag, demanded answers, kicked her out. But I loved her so much it physically hurt. I told myself I was overreacting, that if I accused her and I was wrong, I'd destroy us. So I swallowed it. Again. If you've ever swallowed poison because you were afraid the truth would taste worse, you know exactly how I felt. Fast forward to my birthday. The party was perfect on the surface. Friends, balloons, my favorite steak dinner, too much wine. Emily was the perfect hostess. Touching my arm, refilling my glass, telling everyone how I was the best husband in the world. I smiled until my face hurt, all while that velvet box burned a hole in my pocket. When the last guest left around midnight, she pulled me upstairs, giggling, already tugging at my shirt. "Now for your real present," she whispered. We made love, frantic, desperate on her part, mechanical on mine. I kept seeing that Jay staring up at me from the nightstand where I'd left the box. Afterward, she fell asleep curled against me like nothing was wrong. I waited until her breathing evened out, then slipped out of bed. I opened the box again, took out the ring, and held it up to the moonlight. The J was unmistakable. I turned it over in my fingers, and that's when I saw it. Tiny engraving on the inside of the band. To J, forever my home.
E 11.18.24.
November 18th, 24. 1 year ago exactly. The weekend she told me she was in Miami for a girls' trip. My vision blurred with tears. I sat on the bathroom floor and cried without sound so I wouldn't wake her. 10 years. Gone. But here's where most men would have woken her up screaming. Thrown the ring at her, called a lawyer at 3 a.m. I didn't, because I needed to know how deep this went. I needed proof that couldn't be explained away. And I needed her to feel what I was feeling, only worse. So I put the ring back exactly as I found it, crawled into bed, and started planning. Twist number 1 came 3 days later. I forgot my laptop at home and doubled back after she left for work. Used my spare key. The house smelled like her perfume and something muskier. I went straight to the guest room, the one we never used. The closet door was ajar. Inside, pushed to the back, was the black leather weekend bag. Still here. I unzipped it with shaking hands. Inside, men's clothes. Boxer briefs, size L. A bottle of the same cologne I'd smelled on her. And tucked into a side pocket, a small blue Tiffany box. I opened it. Inside was a woman's diamond tennis bracelet. The card read, "Can't wait to see this on you, and only this."
J.
My knees buckled. I took photos of everything, put it all back exactly, and left before I threw up. That night I installed a hidden app on her phone while she showered. Location tracking. Deleted texts recovery. Voice-activated recorder in her car. I hated myself for it, but not as much as I hated what she was doing to us. The next 2 weeks were torture. I smiled at breakfast, kissed her goodbye, made love when she reached for me, all while reading recovered texts that made my soul bleed. "I miss you already. Last night was insane. He has no idea. Soon, baby. I promise." And the worst one, sent the morning after my birthday. "The ring fit perfectly. He thinks it's from you. You're evil and I love it." I printed everything, built a file, hired the most discreet PI in the city, told him I wanted undeniable proof before I pulled the trigger. He delivered in spades. Twist number 2 hit me like a freight train. The PI followed her to a downtown loft one Thursday when she told me she had a client dinner. Photos, her and Jordan, kissing in the elevator, his hand up her skirt before the doors even closed. More photos, them grocery shopping together like a couple, walking his dog, her cooking in his kitchen wearing his t-shirt and nothing else. But the real gut punch was the last envelope he handed me. Inside, a printed lease agreement, luxury 2-bedroom loft, signed by Emily Harper and Jordan Caldwell. Move-in date, December 1st, 2 weeks away. She was leaving me. She'd already found our replacement home. I sat in my car and screamed until my throat was raw. Most people would have confronted her then, served papers, burned her clothes in the yard. I still didn't, because I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to believe she'd gotten away clean. And I wanted my birthday revenge to be surgical. I started small, forwarded the lease to her parents anonymously with a note. "Ask your daughter who she's moving in with." Her mother called her hysterical the next day. Emily came home crying, swearing it was a mistake, that someone was trying to sabotage her business. I held her while she sobbed, whispering, "I believe you, baby. We'll figure it out." Then I hacked her Harper Creative email. Password was still our wedding date. How poetic, and found the real bombshell. Twist number 3, the one that broke me completely, then put me back together in a way I didn't expect. Buried in her sent folder was an email thread with Jordan from 4 months ago. Subject: "We have to tell him." Her reply: "I'm handling it. He'll sign whatever I put in front of him. He always does." Then Jordan: "The money. Emily, already moved. He thinks it's for the new office build-out. By the time he notices, we'll be in Bali with the 1.2 million. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. She hadn't just cheated. She'd emptied our joint investment account, the one we'd spent 8 years building for our future kids' college, for retirement, for the studio expansion she swore she needed. $1.2 million. Gone. All transferred in chunks to an account in both their names. I felt something inside me die. Then something colder was born. The next day I called our financial advisor, my old college roommate, who Emily didn't know I was still friends with. He reversed every transfer that was still reversible, froze the rest, and backchanneled the fraud report to the bank. Quietly, then I called the PI again. New job. My birthday, my real birthday revenge, was coming. November 18th, 1 year exactly after she'd had that ring engraved for him, I woke Emily with breakfast in bed. Pancakes shaped like hearts. Fresh roses. I kissed her awake and said, "1 year anniversary of the best gift I ever got. You wearing my ring. Let's celebrate properly tonight. I booked that rooftop restaurant you love. Just us." Her eyes lit up. She had no idea. I spent the day moving the last of my things to the apartment I'd quietly rented. Took only what was mine before the marriage. Left her clothes, her shoes, her memories. At 6 p.m., I picked her up looking like nothing was wrong. She wore the red dress I loved, the one that made her look like fire. We drove downtown. She held my hand the whole way, talking about maybe starting to try for a baby after the holidays. We arrived at the restaurant. The hostess led us to the private room I'd reserved. Emily squeezed my arm. "You spoil me." Inside, the table was set for 3. Jordan was already there, standing by the window in a suit, holding a glass of champagne. He turned when we walked in, and the look on his face was pure panic. Emily stopped dead. What is he doing here?" I closed the door behind us and locked it. "Happy birthday to me," I said calmly. "Thought you two might want to celebrate together, since you've been doing everything else together for the last 18 months. Emily's mouth opened and closed. Jordan took a step back. I pulled out my phone and hit play on the video the PI had compiled. High definition. Sound. The loft. The grocery store. Them laughing about how stupid I was. The bank transfers. The lease. All of it. I watched Emily's face crumple in real time. "Mark," she started. "Don't," I said. My voice was ice. "You don't get to say my name anymore." I laid the folder on the table. Divorce papers. Already signed by me. Financial fraud report. Copies of the texts, the photos, the reverse transfers. And on top, the velvet box. I opened it. Took out the signet ring. Nice gift. Eminência. Wrong finger. Wrong man. Wrong everything. I walked over to Jordan. Took Jordan's shaking hand. And slid the ring onto his pinky. Fit perfectly. "Now it has the right initials," I said. Then I turned to Emily. "The money's gone back where it belongs. The loft deposit? Forfeited. Your parents know. Your biggest client, the watch company, just got an anonymous tip about their creative director's personal conduct clause. And these," I gestured to the papers, "get signed tonight, or the police get the fraud file tomorrow morning." Jordan tried to speak. I held up a hand. "One word, bro, and I swear to God I will throw you through that window." He shut up. Emily was sobbing now, mascara rivers down her face. "I'm so sorry. It just happened. I love you. We can fix." "No," I said. "We can't. You killed us the moment you decided I was too stupid to notice." I walked to the door, paused. "Oh, and M? The red dress? It looks better on the floor of his loft anyway." I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Just closed it softly. Downstairs I handed the maitre d' an envelope with 10,000 cash. Payment for the room and instructions to call the police if either of them tried to leave without signing. Then I walked into the night, got in my car, and drove to my new apartment. I sat on the empty floor, opened a beer and cried. For the man I used to be, for the future we'd planned, for the trust that can never be rebuilt. But when the tears dried, I felt something new. Free. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? Would you have walked away clean? Or would you have burned it all down? 6 months later, I'm stronger than I've ever been. New city, new job, therapy twice a week. I even started dating again, slowly. The first woman who made me laugh without pain is named Jenna. No J initials anywhere. And Emily? Last I heard, Jordan dumped her the second the money disappeared. She lost the studio, moved back with her parents, and works retail now. Sometimes late at night I still see that signet ring in my head. Glinting J. But it doesn't hurt anymore. It reminds me I survived. If the story touched you, the love, the lies, the moment everything changed, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because the next heartbreak that will leave you speechless is coming soon. And remember, sometimes the worst day of your life is just the first day of the rest of it. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.